Jerri Daniels, and I work for a consulting firm called Dewberry. And we have been a consultant to FEMA for quite a few years, and here in Louisiana post-Katrina have been working since '05. As a company, we are architects, engineers, and consultants, and I'm under the consultants line. And we in the water resources group that I am in do a lot of flood risk management work. For FEMA particularly, it's flood risk identification. So we do a lot of work updating the flood insurance rate maps for communities. The identification of the flood risk for the communities is a critical role in the planning efforts. We also do flood risk assessments, which basically states if this flood were to occur, typically the 100-year flood or 1% annual chance, if this flood were to occur, what would happen? What would be the effects of that flood? What would be the economic loss? How many people might need a shelter? Things of that nature that they can use in their hazard mitigation planning and other planning efforts for good decision making and public safety. Yes, we are safer than we were when Katrina came August 29, 2005. Absolutely. Has it completely removed the risk? No. There is a residual risk of living behind those levees. And some people are just kind of complacent because of that. They see that big surge barrier and they see those great pump stations that can fill an Olympic swimming pool in 3.5 seconds and think, I'm fine. And that's not necessarily the case. Whether you're in New Orleans or North Louisiana, the one thing that I see different is the planning. So almost every community in Louisiana now has a hazard mitigation plan, and that was a stipulation to get the aid from FEMA to rebuild your community. You have to have one of these plans on file, and every 5 years it has to be updated. And basically this plan shows how you're going to implement mitigation actions to make your community safer against all hazards, not just flooding. So that's one thing we didn't do prior to Katrina. So that's a definite lesson learned that I see going forward as a really good thing. And a lot of communities are actually implementing the mitigation actions defined in the plans. It's not just a plan that you've checked the box, gotten the money, it's sitting on the shelf. So that's really good to see. Community-wise, even in Tangipahoa Hope Parish, there's an example of a restaurant that my family and I love to eat at. It's been there for 75 years, right at past Man Shack, and they were the technical term is substantially improving the building, but basically they were adding on a huge section. Well, from the time to Katrina and the time they wanted to add on, new flood insurance rate maps have come out and the risk is greater, right? So they had to elevate a portion of the restaurant. So even now when you go eat there, you've got to walk up steps. And well, the end result was when Hurricane Isaac came through, which was about a 100-year event, that portion of the restaurant did not flood and the other portion did. But they were able to come back online that much faster. So we see it working in the communities. We see it working. And so yeah, I would say we absolutely were more knowledgeable. We're implementing actions that we probably would not have done before. And people are examining it a lot more closely. Whether or not we'll be better the next time, you could say you don't know because every storm is unique. I mean, there's so many factors that go into how a hurricane affects the community. But our planning efforts are so much better than they were before. The Corps of Engineers is also working with communities on evacuation planning. We have all of these things now in place. We've learned, I think, what not to do. So I think that we would be better off. I do think people would pay attention a little more, and implement whatever personal safety plan they have for themselves, because that's the other part of this is people need to have their own evacuation plan. And communities now have cooperative agreements, they're used to working together, we all understand, what it takes to come back from an event like that. And so I think we all want to make it as painless as possible. And I think that's really the number one thing to every community being more resilient is the individual citizen taking that responsibility for themselves and their family. In Louisiana, we really don't have any excuses anymore, right? Especially with Katrina and Rita in the backs of our minds, fresh still, even though it's been 10 years. We really shouldn't have any excuses. People need to sort of take responsibility and, develop that evacuation plan, get phone numbers, pack a bag, get your disaster kit ready, be prepared.